Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a massive, high-octane look behind the scenes of the iconic film that literally launched a pop culture phenomenon. We are rewinding all the way back to the year 2001 to uncover exactly how the creators of the original Fast and Furious movie built a world so completely grounded in reality, it revolutionized action cinema forever.
I mean, talk about iconic, right? That line perfectly captures the raw, adrenaline-fueled ethos we're going to explore today. It's that idea that for those 10 seconds or less, you are entirely free. The cars in this film, they weren't just props in the background. They were literal canvases where speed and beauty collided, functioning as actual breathing co-stars of the movie.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down today. We'll look at 5 key pillars: capturing authentic street culture, assembling a seminal cast, visualizing speed in cars, directing the set's tone, and finally executing those high-speed stunts.
Okay, let's jump right into pillar number 1, capturing authentic street culture.
The filmmakers knew from the jump that they couldn't just fake this scene on some Hollywood backlot. No way. They had to deeply immerse themselves in the real subculture. When a magazine article originally sparked the whole idea, the production team actually went out to the real street races, which, by the way, often ended with everyone scattering the second the cops flashed their lights. And they discovered this fascinating meritocracy. Unlike traditional snobby high society racing, this was accessible. You could literally take your standard mom's Honda Civic, drop about 10 grand into it, and boom, you've engineered an 800 horsepower street beast. If you built a car that did the quarter mile in under 10 seconds, you instantly earned everyone's admiration, and usually their money too. These cars were an extension of who they were, turning complete junk piles into high-performance art.
Just think about the sheer scale of the reality they captured for the legendary race wars scene. They didn't fake it. They brought in thousands of actual racers right off the street. We're talking roughly 1,500 Asian import cars and 1,000 background extras. By just putting flyers out on the internet, they attracted the exact people who live this life every single day. The filmmakers used real street racers, their authentic cars, and honestly, even their actual wardrobe. It was a completely true reflection of the youth culture happening every weeknight out on the highways of America.
Moving on to Pillar 2, assembling a seminal cast.
You know, casting this movie was just as crucial to the realism as the cars themselves. The creators anchored the entire narrative on 2 completely contrasting archetypes. First up, Paul Walker. The filmmakers actually noted he brought this classic, almost McQueen-esque ambiance to the screen. He was making that vital transition from teen heartthrob to manhood, just perfectly embodying the guy who genuinely loves cars. And then, right against him, you have Vin Diesel playing Dominic, the absolute anti-hero king of the streets. Diesel was praised for creating an enormous amount of energetic presence with very minimal action. He's that tough survivor fiercely taking care of his chosen family.
And the women in this franchise, absolutely pivotal. They brought in Jordana Brewster to play Mia, Dominic's sister. She brought this really specific intelligence and a kind of remote, almost unknowable beauty to the role. Then, of course, there's Michelle Rodriguez as Letty. Get this, originally they didn't even have a substantial part for her, but they were so incredibly impressed by her that they literally evolved the script to create this fierce, new female force specifically for her. She just showed up on set with pure toughness and attitude.
But okay, here is a seriously hilarious contrast between Hollywood illusion and reality. While you see these incredibly tough, street racing veterans executing perfect 360-degree turns on screen, the reality is that the actresses playing these hardcore drivers, Jordana Brewster and Michelle Rodriguez, didn't even have their driver's licenses when filming started. I mean, can you believe that? They learned how to drive on the fly, stepping up to the plate and completely mastering it by the end of the day.
All right, let's hit Pillar 3, visualizing speed and cars.
So ask yourself, how do you actually make an audience feel what it's like to tear down a street at 170 miles an hour? Keep in mind, a lot of these real street racing cars don't even have rear-view mirrors or speedometers. The drivers literally don't take their eyes off the road. They just feel the engine. To dramatize that raw, intoxicating rush, the director conceptualized nitrous oxide as literal adrenaline in a bottle. The moment they hit that button, it dumps chemical adrenaline straight into the engine, doubling or even tripling the horsepower in a split second.
The big challenge, though, was how to show that internal explosion visually.
Well, the director completely deconstructed the speed, step by step. He envisioned this amazing sequence where the camera physically travels down Vin Diesel's arm, goes straight into the stick shift, down through the fuel injection system, and directly into the very heart of the engine to witness that massive, explosive nitrous oxide boost. It was a completely revolutionary way to visualize the internal mechanics of a high-speed chase.
This brings us to Pillar 4, directing the set's tone. Pulling all of this off, the visual magic, the egos, the cars, the sheer danger required some incredibly level-headed leadership behind the camera. Director Rob Cohen figured out pretty quickly that the secret to running a massive Hollywood production wasn't stressing everyone out. When you're asking a 150-person crew to cooperate flawlessly amidst roaring engines and stunt explosions, you absolutely need calm. Cohen maintained this incredibly zen tone, making sure that even if everyone else was stressing, his level-headedness kept the entire machinery of the film running. He actually believed a little on-set joking around acted like a lubricant on the ball bearings of the production.
And keeping things running smoothly also meant keeping the actors totally safe while filming those intense close-ups. To do that, they used this really ingenious Hollywood tool called the mic rig. Basically, think of it as a super elongated van that safely towed the actors' cars. Because your standard wide trailers really limit movement, the mic rig allowed them to go way faster and even slide the cars around realistically. This brilliant setup meant the cast could act out these high-speed chases, delivering intense dialogue without having to actually worry about driving 100 miles an hour.
Which leads us to our final pillar, number 5, executing high-speed stunts. Because beyond the clever camera tricks and rigs, this film relied heavily on real, highly dangerous practical stunts performed by completely fearless professionals. There's this great quote from production that really says it all. The actors might have felt like tough guys, but they were in total awe of the stunt performers. The stunt coordinator and his team regularly executed maneuvers that simply didn't seem humanly possible, entirely raising the bar for modern chase sequences.
A perfect example of this is that absolutely terrifying truck sequence near the end of the film. Stunt double Mike Justice broke down this highly practical, incredibly dangerous sequence for the character of Vince. He actually had to physically jump from a moving Honda directly onto the hood of a massive semi-truck. Then, he got violently hung up on the side of it while cruising down the road at speeds between 55 to 65 miles per hour, all while rescue cars were actively approaching to try and catch a wildly swinging character.
It is so critical to remember here. These were not safe digital creations cooked up in a computer months later. This was the real deal. Real professionals executing sharp, highly dangerous practical effects. They literally used physical pipe rams to launch real cars into massive flips at actual highway speeds. They brought this gritty, visceral realism to the stunts that simply hadn't been done with that level of precision before.
So, that leaves us with this one final thought to ponder. When you look at the absolute dedication to real people, real 800-horsepower cars, and completely death-defying practical stunts, how did blending a genuine underground street racing subculture with revolutionary practical filmmaking not just create a summer hit, but set a brand new, enduring gold standard for all of action cinema? It's a truly fascinating legacy. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking deeper into the incredible stories behind the screens.